Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am BorderWise and welcome to a quick From the Depths video in which, well, you are looking at the result of me trying to make a plane. Or rather, about an hour's worth of trying to make a functioning plane and then about 5 minutes of frustrated conversion into a airship orbiting rotorcraft thing. Which is the point of the video. If you're anything like me in playing From the Depths, you can't wrap your head around aircraft. I have tried numerous times to make a functioning aeroplane using aerial AI, you know, the usual thing. Flies in a straight line, strafes the target, turns around, flies back in a straight line, so on and so forth. The way airplanes work, right? Well, I still can't do that. I probably should go reverse engineer a few of the faction craft, but in the meantime, I'm making do with this. This thing is deceptive. Well, it's not that deceptive. You can see how it flies. It's got daddy blades. The go-to thing for making things fly when otherwise they wouldn't fly From the Depths. So, if you want to make one of these for yourself, it's actually quite simple. This thing has 4 sets of dedicated heliblade spinners. The 3 on top control the altitude, so when altitude is less than, in this case, 300, it sets the speed to 30 of this, and when it's above, it sets it to 0. Very simple. And this one in the middle is pretty much the same, and this one at the front is exactly the same, except this one is a bit bigger, because the nose is where it's at with these little things. If I do this, you'll notice that this thing, as it flies, it dips up and down quite a lot. That is because of the way thrust kind of works with this. If something has a lot of thrust, or if it has thrust below or above the center of drag, it's going to pitch up or it's going to pitch down. And this thing right at the front, as well as maintaining altitude, has to compensate for that, which is why it's a little bit bigger and a lot more busy. There is another little daddy blade right in the front here, and this pulls the nose down. So when this thing goes above 300 meters altitude, it sets the rotation speed to -30, so it pulls the thing down. And bear in mind, this thing is upside down, and that needs to happen. If this thing is the other way up, it'll, I don't know. It probably doesn't strictly... Well, no, it needs to do that because if you set this thing right side up and have it spin negatively, it will flip the craft. So you don't want to do that. In any case, this is I am reasonably pleased with this result. This was essentially my attempt to make a small aircraft, and it's not as small as it could be. There's a lot of faction craft which is a lot smaller than this, and it's also not as cheap as it could be. As you can tell, this thing is powered by RTGs, which are very expensive, and somehow it still ends up being about 9,669 resources. Go figure. But, reasonable ducker. It's got 3 little cruise missiles, which are surprisingly good against all targets. I'll show you what these are. Fins, rather slow, variable thruster, 1 turn, fuel tanks, warhead, wide angle, well, medium angle fragmentation, and a radar seeker. And on the other wing, I've got a real thing for asymmetric designs recently. Don't know what it is. It's got... What have I done? What have I done? There we go. You will see here, it has little torpedoes. And these are not the best torpedoes in the world, honestly. They could be a lot better. But they do the job. They pop anything that... anything that is small that falls in the water is going to get destroyed by these things quite easily. It's nice. I designed this thing to be annoying. Because frankly, small aircraft, that's all they can really do. It's really hard to make a small craft with devastating firepower. It can be done, but it's not easy. Which is kind of one of the things that bothers me with From the Depths, because in real life, aircraft are deadly. You put the right kinds of bombs and missiles on them, they can punch. They can be just so incredibly overpowered in real life, which is why, you know, any country with a decent military budget has an air force, because the missiles you stick on them are absolutely devastating and planes are really fast. From the Depths, the atmosphere of Neater is like soup. so nothing can fly very fast. This thing is not as fast as craft tend to be. It only goes at maximum about 70 meters per second, and there's planes and thruster craft in this game which can go almost twice as fast, while simultaneously being a lot bigger and heavier, and better armored. You might have noticed this thing's armor is noteworthy, in which it doesn't have any. It has 1 meter of alloy all around it. When this thing gets hit, it goes up like a firework, which is quite spectacular, but annoying if you want the thing to stay alive, which it doesn't tend. It tends not to stay alive very long, which goes back to the whole thing. I originally intended to stick this thing on a carrier and have it annoy people, and I've yet to build the carrier. Should probably get around to that as well. So in any case, if nothing... Well, I'm forgetting the whole damn point of this video. It's just, when in doubt, if you want to make something fly, stick rotor blades on it and just run with a naval AI. Honestly, this thing is so much bloody easier to deal with than the aerial AI, but so much easier to deal with the aerial AI, because it's like, it's dealing on a flat plane. Frankly, I don't know, and honestly, if you set the enter broadside distance low and set the broadside angle low, you could probably end up with a decent mimic of an aircraft anyway. In fact, I might test that after I'm done recording here. But, can I get everything? Yeah, also you might notice this thing bounces around a lot. Some people might not like that. I personally am fine with it. I like how derpy it looks. But if you want to fix that, you just need more rotor blades, and you need to make them perhaps not quite as intolerant of altitude change as I've set it up, because this thing is like immediately goes as fast as possible to when it's less than 300 meters up in the air, it immediately sets the rotors to as fast as they can go, and you might want to put, say, 2 more around it to just mitigate that. So like you could have one setting, it's when it's less than, say, what's it gonna call it? How would you do that? You would do something like less than 300. When you say less than 200, you set it to spin at 30 times a second. If it's less than 250, it's about 20 times per second and above. And less than 300, it's let's say 10. That could probably work. It means the thing would just hover in air slightly more steadily and smoothly, and wouldn't, well, bounce around and make you seasick. Oh my god, I would never get on something like this in real life, that's for sure. So, I should probably give you a live fire test. So, here goes. Rhoda, where are you, dude? There you go, so away she goes at the very respectable pace of 68 meters per second, which is pretty fast. It's not as fast as a flying squirrel, that's for sure. Whoa, that was actually way closer than I wanted it to be. So as you can see, little missiles are firing away, decently long range. And little torpedoes are in the water, and they'll probably be here any minute now. There they are. What? Sometimes these torpedoes just aren't quite fast enough to hit the target. But then they are. So as you can see, that's piddly by torpedo standards. It knocked off, what, two wooden beams? That's nothing. And that was a decent hit. So this thing, I haven't even told you its name. God damn. This is the Ramfor. It's named after it's named after a pterosaur. I'm keeping with my reptile theme. So it's named after Ramphorhynchus. And if you don't know what that is, well, I can understand why not. And if you don't know how to spell that, I really understand, because it's a horrible word. But as you can see, it's like this thing functionally is like a small aircraft, except it orbits its target. That's pretty much the only difference. And I should really take my own advice and maybe make this thing less janky, because that probably slows it down. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Hope you learned something from it. And I will see you next time in From the Depths. Farewell!